It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey everybody, it's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Schick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
Les Webster.
Hello all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Delightful.
Awesome.
Dependable.
Delighted. Yeah. Involved. There you go. Hope everybody is doing okay out there. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm still working on doing my homework for the episodes, although one of them is here now, so I can kind of stop. Well, I'm not going to.
So you won't stop.
I may start them right over again when I get finished with the last one. I don't know. Or I may go on to the movies, whatever. We'll get to that later. Other than that, let's see. It's kind of almost boring at this point because I already did this, but I took the kid to a basketball game Saturday night. Actually took the wife this time too, and it wasn't the Mavs, it was the Legends, but it was still quite a bit of fun.
It's cool. I always enjoy them better live. I can't watch them on TV.
Yeah, it's definitely more fun live.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I can watch TV on TV. I don't because I haven't had cable in at least 5 years, so you don't get to see a whole lot of NBA basketball on antenna.
Oh, that's any sport in general for me.
Right. I mean, you can get some football, but, well, I know you don't care about sports. That's fine. But yeah.
But that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise, just plugging through comics and stuff. Nothing really to report there this time. But.
Okay.
Well, I've been watching a lot of what we're going to talk about in a few minutes. I did get a little bit of reading done. I've been sorting through my boxes because I'm going to have to, I won't go into that little rant again, but I'm going to have to move some things around. But I've been reading that Dreaming, and that is really cute. I guess it's not the story you read and you go, oh, how cute. But the characters and everything else in it are just so adorable, but not like Scotty Young adorable. So it's been a good little read. Interesting for sure. Goodness, I think that's, like I said, I've been watching a lot of TV. So I'll talk about that in a few more minutes.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to say I've just heard too much of exciting stuff because I haven't been exciting at all. So I'm just happy that I've been able to get through some of the titles I have. And nothing big to report on that either.
Okay. Boy, I could wish. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to bail anybody out this week.
Apparently, we're all trying to get through this part quick so we can get to the discussion. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Other than trying to catch up on my pools, I've actually been kind of working on fellowship-related projects and stuff for my other job. That's basically about it. So I don't really have anything exciting to report this week. We will next week.
Yeah. Well, I have one more thing to add that's
Oh,
kind
okay.
of exciting.
Go right
Maybe I
ahead.
can bail us out here.
Bail us out, right?
I did finally meet my niece that I told you guys about that I've never met before,
Oh,
Cool.
cool.
and she's an absolute sweetheart. So that was very exciting for me too. You know, you get that build up because you're like, well, what if she doesn't like me, and what if I don't like her? Or, you know, she's like almost like a mini me. We like. It's like
Oh,
I've known her my
God.
whole life.
Oh, Lord, really? Holy
No,
shit.
she's sweet, guys. Really, really. And I think she summed it up when she was like, "Well, you know, you guys are crazy like ha ha, but not crazy like I want to stab you." So it's like, yay.
Oh, this is the one who listens to her show, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
She
I'm
downloaded the show.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, and actually, she has a twin sister that I believe has also listened to the show. So,
Ooh.
Unfortunately, she lives up in Colorado, and I haven't gotten the pleasure to meet her yet. So,
Okay.
hopefully one day. I absolutely love her sister. So,
Well,
yeah.
and in the meantime, she can get her Liz fix by listening to the show.
Yes, you can hear me all the time.
Absolutely. Weekly, even.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm glad they're listening, and I hope that it sounds like they're enjoying what they're hearing. That's awesome. That's nice to know.
So did I bail us out?
What do you think?
In terms of
Guys?
positivity, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, positivity, definitely.
In terms of like the 20-minute ramble we had last week, not so much, but
Oh, yeah.
that's all right.
Well,
We all contributed to that, so we're not being very rambly today so far.
woohoo!
Like I said, we'll get there.
I could bring up Batman wing again.
Oh man, there's a Batwing joke in there somewhere.
Mm.
Totally. Excuse me while I whip this out. Anyway.
Ah! Alrighty, on that awkward note, before we get, now for something completely different. There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Hey. Before we get into this week's topic, I want to spend a couple moments to thank the fine sponsors of Things from Another World for supporting the fellowship. And you could help us, help them, help us, help you by going to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, and click on the Sponsors tab. And there you will see the deals that they are normally running. Right now, there's not anything special other than their daily deals or their 50% off Nick and Nick comics, but those are still pretty awesome deals. So if you click on the link that's there on the site, that'll take you to Things from Another World. Let them know that we sent you their way, and take advantage of some of these great deals. And thank you, Things from Another World, for sponsoring the fellowship. Okay, for this week, we wanted to take a moment, or several moments, and I'm sure it's going to be several moments, and that's all right, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of a show that we've already made several references to. So if you caught those, you probably know what we're going to talk about. I'm trying to remember how exactly it came to America. Was that one of those that was brought to us through
PBS.
Well, I knew it was Luke and Owen Wilson's dad through PBS.
Yeah, he was the station manager there for a while. I say here in Dallas.
Here. Right.
Yeah.
So Dallas, they said, was the first one to show it here.
Okay, that's what I was remembering, and I just wasn't sure if I was remembering correctly. A classic British sitcom sketch. I guess you want to call it sketch. Yeah, it's sketches. So, Monty Python's Flying Circus. Such a great show. Such memorable sketches and characters and the fact that here it is 50 years later and people still make references to the shows, or you could say something, make some kind of comment, and people automatically know, oh, that's a Monty Python reference. That says something. That's pretty powerful for something like that to come. You know, it's the equivalent to like use the Force, Luke, or beam me up, Scotty, that kind of thing. That's kind of powerful for just, you know, you would think of just a lowly old comedy show that all they were wanting to do was just entertain people, and granted they weave things into some of their sketches, but that kind of thing. But especially kind of their thumbing nose at the authority and that kind of thing. But just such a great show, such a great cast, so brilliantly written. It's sometimes so absurd that you just have to laugh at just, what the hell am I watching? So with that, I'm going to stop my rambling, and I'm going to turn it over to Mike, because I think Mike probably has some things he would like to say.
Just cut you off at more than some.
This is so sudden. I don't know if Monty Python's Flying Circus. What I thought we were doing. No, I'm kidding.
Did he have tigers?
That's not what I prepared for. No, I'm kidding. What, a tiger in Africa? No, wait, that's not from the show. That's from a movie. Anyway, we're going to do the quotes. We only got to do the show this week. Actually, no, it would probably be really, really bad if we just devolved into Monty Python comments and references and quotes for the rest of the show. But
oh, why not?
So let's try not to do that. I mean, a few is fine, I'm sure, but we don't want to do that. Because that's a lot of why some people don't like this show. But
people don't like our show?
No, not our show. Monty Python.
Say you shattered my bubble.
Everybody loves our show. Come on, let's not be stupid here. Jeez. Anyway, I almost said that with a straight face, but
almost.
Yeah. See. My deal with Monty Python is, in my experience anyway, people either love the show or they don't get it. I have never really met anybody who gets the show that doesn't love it. And honestly, I think the main reason for that is that there's the Flying Circus series used a lot of context reference. They were actively making fun of specific things, and a lot of them were just British society in general, but it also got a little more specific than that. I mean, they made fun of comedy TV shows a lot. They made fun of Americans a lot. They made fun of political figures. They made fun of celebrities. They made fun of ancient authors in some cases. They just made fun of everything. And my deal is, if you kind of aren't familiar with at least some of that stuff, you might not get it. I came into Monty Python probably mid to late 80s. And that was like 10 years after Monty Python came to the U.S. And Monty Python kind of opened the floodgates for bringing British TV shows, specifically comedy series, to the American market. And so the deal was I had actually seen some of those newer shows first. So that kind of gave me a bit of a point of reference for some of what Monty Python was doing, which is in a way backwards because I actually didn't see that much of the stuff before that. But I got a little bit of context in my head, which, I mean, admittedly, I'm like 12 years old watching this stuff. So the context is vague in my head because I'm 12. But I got enough of a grasp of kind of how British people were for Monty Python to make sense. And so I loved it pretty much from the minute go, from the very start. The people that I have known that don't like the show are the people who who never really watched any of that stuff, who don't really know that much about the British people, who don't really know that much about British politics. Certainly don't know anything about the way British TV comedy works. And so people make cracks about it being intellectual comedy, but I think that's only true to the extent that you kind of have to have gone out of your way to understand British people before you're going to get Monty Python, because they're making fun of British people a lot. I mean, and these are guys who have some experience with British people. I mean, admittedly, none of them were particularly old when the show started, but they had been around. They had been working in British TV for a couple of years. They knew people. They knew stuff. They knew what they'd had to do They'd all worked on TV shows before, so they all knew what was involved, and they were making fun of all of that stuff. And honestly, really just doing it to make themselves laugh, for the most part, by their own admission at this point. Most of them have gone on record saying, yeah, we were really just trying to crack ourselves up. So, you know, that they really kind of didn't care what people thought. They were, in a sense, they were sort of handed the reins on this show. They were just like, they walked in as a group because they had met, and I won't go into too much detail, but when all of them had walked in the door, the execs were like, you guys want to work together? Okay, go for it. And, right, because they were some of the better writers on some of these other shows that were doing pretty well, and they wanted to collaborate. Great, that's bound to be something interesting. Something cool's going to come out of that, and then there you go.
Yep.
You know, although they're very British, to me it was a different kind of humor than you normally get with the British, because normally British humor is kind of dry, and it's more of a ha ha instead of a ha. You know, that's kind of what caught my attention with them, is that it wasn't that dry, stuffy humor that they sometimes can have. That it was more funny. PBS used to play this at a block, and it was with Fawlty Towers, Are You Being Served, Blackadder, and then Monty Python. And so it's kind of like they kind of primed you.
Yeah, building you up for it.
Right. But if you also think about when this show was made in the 70s, and you watch some of the content that they were able to put on TV. I mean,
oh, they showed them late
TV
at night.
On top of that,
Don't make no mistake. They showed them late at night. They were not showing them. This is not primetime stuff.
No, it wasn't. This was late night, you know, black and white TV kind of stuff sometimes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you know, they just really pushed the envelope, which really made it great, because they knew they were pissing people off, but that made it even more funny. So, like, the next episode, you can see that it's, like, really cranked up even more. You know. So I always like shows like that they're not, oh, the censors don't like us. Well, you know what? Who cares? We're having, like you said, we're having fun. That kind of reminds me of Carol Burnett. When you have that kind of chemistry with people and they're not really concerned about the cameras, but more having fun and joking and that kind of thing with each other, to me, that's fun to watch. It's better than a script. It's better than something they could have planned and made it dry and stuffy, But yeah, like I said, definitely good.
Well, you talk about the getting away with stuff and censorship and that kind of stuff. They played off that. I mean, they even had the officer that was played by Graham Chapman always come in and stop the sketch, going, okay, this is the Colonel, and going, okay, it's gone too silly. We must stop and go on to something else. And in some cases, they'll do something that's even more funny. Then he pops in again and says, oh, wait, okay, no, come on. It's just so they even poke fun at it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with Monty Python, at least to me, as compared to some of the other British comedies, it's one of the ones that I really latched onto first before seeing the other ones. And I think it's for this reason: it was more visual. A lot of British comedies, it's all in the jokes and the dialogue. And there's times where I'm watching some of those that I'm having problems understanding through the accent, or my perceived of their accent, that I'm not getting what they're saying. Plus the fact that with them being British, there's some terms and words that are obviously not used here in America that I'll go, okay, I don't know what that means, so I just missed a joke because everybody else is laughing. But where Monty Python, it was a nice mix of everything. It was not just verbal jokes. There was visual jokes as well.
I think that Mike was right that it wasn't for everybody, but you can have converts too. My main case in point is my wife. My wife did not know of Monty Python. I'd been watching since the 60s, and she has since come around after I drag her to movies and have her sit down to watch the television show. She now has favorite skits. She loves several of the movies. She saw that these were very innovative people that came up with ideas that were not touched by television before, because comedy at that time was mainly sitcoms. And in the sitcom, you have two people at odds, and the half hour is spent as a resolution for those two, and of course they end up best of friends. In the situation comedy, it was extremely novel, but it lacked the spontaneity that Python produced. This idea lent to television shows such as Saturday Night Live. Skit comedy was around before Python, but they refined it. They gave it to you in a half-hour dose, and people that I know all latched onto it. It's It was one of the funniest things to sit down and watch this, because if you had 10 people in there, within the first 3 minutes of the show, you had everything from giggles to guffaws. It was a strong point, and I saw it in Oklahoma City, which did not get it as early as they did here in the Dallas area. Thank goodness that Mr. Owen, or Mr. Wilson, was able to acquire the rights to bring this to the U.S., because then all of a sudden New York City and everybody else who claimed they were the ones that brought British humor to America were able to broadcast the programs. I know that I'm rambling again, and I apologize, but I know there are skits that each one of us love and remember, and I think that's
recite from memory.
Probably recite, and because of that, that's why it is such a strong program. I'm so glad that we get to talk about this, because it was fun to watch. It is still fun to watch, and yet it was so innovative that, like I said, it spawned so many different forms, and even not necessarily spin-offs, but new venues for the Python cast members.
Speaking of, the news came down, I want to say a week or two ago. Speaking of Python cast members going on to do other things, I believe Michael Palin is going to be knighted in the very near future for his work in travel TV.
That is correct.
So, congratulations, Sir Michael.
That is pretty cool.
The first one.
He's first one, because apparently, which I didn't realize this until I read this a few hours ago before recording, that apparently John Cleese declined. He was going to be knighted, and he declined.
That kind of doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it doesn't really surprise me either, but so. And I think another thing about Python is a lot of it is timeless. I mean, there's obviously some reference to current situations or that kind of thing, but it's not like it's contemporary Laugh-In, where everything was pretty much of what was going on at the time, which immediately dates the material. Python very rarely does that. It's across the board. Some of it was current, and like you said earlier, Mike, some of it was maybe been references even back to the 1700s or that kind of thing. So it was all over the board. So it kind of makes it timeless. I think that's also a good thing. I think that's also something that kind of makes still I don't want to say appealing, but you see what I'm trying to get, that I'm really stumbling over.
Yeah, and I think it's a credit to the writing.
Yes.
Because they were able to make fun of current events in a way that's still funny 50 years later.
Right.
I mean, it's still just I mean, to an extent, it may just seem a little more like just madcap zany humor at this point. But a lot of that madcap zany stuff was really making fun of the way things worked in the political system. Like there's the one sketch, I'm trying to remember, I want to say it was first season, where you've got I think it's Graham Chapman. They come on, they do a party political broadcast, and they come on, and he starts reading his speech, pretending. I mean, he's a like an MP or something. I don't remember, a minister for something. And all of a sudden, the earth opens up below him and swallows him, and so he's hanging from a rope eventually, because they get the BBC rope out, and he's still trying to give the speech because they've already paid for the time, and it goes on for several minutes like this, just things happening. They have to throw him down a new script because he drops his script into the chasm, and it's just, I mean, there's so many things I'm sure that says about the state of politics at that time, but it's still just hilarious to watch Graham Chapman hanging upside down from a rope in what looks like a cave, basically, a hole in the ground that has opened up, and the earth is trying to swallow him. That's just hilarious still. So,
and then they invert the picture, so
Yeah.
it looks like he's.
they turn the camera over, but they forget to do the caption, so it's upside down still. And it's awesome. It's just this constant string of them trying to figure out how to solve this problem, which is the fact that the earth is attempting to swallow up their politician. Like I said, I'm sure it says something. What it says, I don't know if I want to try to go that deep, but yeah. And so that's the kind of stuff that today just seems, it could just be crazy. And it all made sense at the time, and it has some sort of contextual reference to it. And the deal is, if you can get some of that context, I mean, just an understanding of British society, it makes the whole thing work on a different level. And then, of course, each of the performers has their own thing that they're really good at.
Right.
It's really fun to watch John Cleese shouting at somebody. It's really fun to watch Terry Jones dress up in drag and run around shrieking at things.
And he did it really well.
Oh man, didn't he though? Honestly, Chapman was pretty good at it too.
Oh God, yeah. And of course, we can't leave out Terry Gilliam and his incredible animation sketches. Wow. I mean, where do I even begin?
Yeah, that was some groundbreaking shit right there. It really was. Nobody was doing that yet.
Right.
I mean, and honestly, he hadn't even been doing that yet. He had gotten started on a show with Palin and Jones, doing some minor stuff, but it was nothing that elaborate. So yeah, I mean, and he was
winging it.
He was winging it, and a lot of that stuff is just brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Getting himself ready for one hell of a directing career.
Oh God, yes.
When was your first vision of Python? When did you first start watching the show?
Well,
If you say last Thursday, I swear.
no, I was probably middle school.
Way younger than we should have been, every one of us.
Yep.
But I can't remember being too sober when we watched it. So.
What?
Yeah. My best friend had older brothers, and yeah. So
So the plan was to get drunk and watch Monty Python. Okay.
drunk, sure, drunk. We'll go with drunk.
La 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 la.
La 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 la. Whatever.
That's what I asked Phil. I said, "Are you going to watch Monty Python with me?" And he said, "Sober." That's how he was introduced to Monty Python.
Well, that's optional, I guess, but you know.
But I actually want to say that I watched, I think it was The Holy Grail before.
That's not
No.
unusual. Not at all.
Remember. And I think that's why I didn't turn it when it came on PBS. Not saying I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying. I left it on there because it was recognizable from, I'd seen it before.
Uh-huh.
Just couldn't remember where.
Well, I wonder why. I wonder why you couldn't remember it.
Yeah, it was probably my freshman year of high school. Oh, yeah. And now that I'm thinking about it, probably was my freshman year of high school. For those friends.
Yeah, see, for me, it was probably in that same time frame. I didn't have the mind-altering substances thing going on, but I was, like I said, I had been watching other British comedies already at that point, so it made some sense. Yeah, we could just go off on British comedies in general, but try and fight the urge to do that, to start listing other shows to go watch, but because we're focusing on Python here, damn it.
Well, that could be something down the road. We can just do other British comedy classics. We can do that.
Because I think my gateway British was the old black and white Doctor Who's.
That's a pretty good gateway.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I don't watch the newer stuff. I liked the older. But that's a different show.
Right. Trying not to get off on that tangent. But
Right. Before I piss all the nerds off.
No,
You might want to cut that.
I don't think you'd be pissing all of them off.
no, I honestly, I don't watch the new stuff either. So
Yeah.
again, I don't have BBC.
Yeah.
So
Kind of sidetrack. I don't remember the old stuff being as silly as the newer stuff. Am I wrong on that?
On Doctor Who?
Uh-huh.
it was pretty silly.
Yeah, there was some silly stuff in it.
Well, yeah, we were talking about when they were showing them all on Twitch a few months ago. Yeah, I was watching some of those older ones going, man, I thought this was really cool back then, but
Yeah.
boy, this hasn't aged well.
Maybe that's what it was. I was young when I watched it.
Yeah, it was groundbreaking stuff when you had no point of reference for any of it, when it was new. When the whole concept was new in your mind, it was really cool. Yeah, it didn't really. I'm watching some of those episodes, like I said, a few months ago, and I was like, man,
Yeah.
this is not nearly as good as I remember it being. I thought this was cool shit back then, but man, no. This is terribly written, or this is
It was
hard to
cool.
watch.
It was just kind of going, oh boy, this is a bad story.
Right. It was one of those deals where the idea was cooler than the execution.
Mm.
It was the whole idea of Time Lords and the TARDIS and all of that stuff was very cool, new stuff, but man, they had a hard time sustaining it for as many years as they did because some of that stuff's just terrible.
I had an art teacher who probably, without knowing it, probably saved my life. So I respected him a lot. And he came to one of our dances dressed up as Doctor Who. And he had made a R2, or what is it?
K9.
K9 R2. Wrong space show.
Wrong nerd.
So it kind of was like, what are you dressed as? What is that? Oh, you can watch it on PBS. So it's his fault, Mr. Hoskins.
So obviously he was doing the Baker look.
Yes.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
Whether K9 was involved or not.
Yeah.
That's your big hint, but yeah.
That was my gateway. Like I said, I enjoy all of the Monty Python. I find Life of Brian kind of hard to watch because of my upbringing.
Oh, I didn't think of that. That's an interesting.
You know, but I've still seen it, and there are some of it that's kind of funny, and you don't feel like you're going to burn in hell for watching it.
Oh, the controversy around that movie was just because there was I can't remember. I wish I could remember the name. There's a documentary specifically about that, and it's just wild. It's amazing. There was a lot of crap that went down over that movie.
I think, yeah, I watched it just because I knew it would drive my parents insane if they found out, because I didn't dare tell them I watched it. But I think you're right. That was one kind of like Jesus Christ Superstar that they all had a fit over and everything too. Which to me, that just makes it more popular. But
yeah, and see, that was only just a musical.
Right.
This is actually supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it is it's a favorite of mine. I really like that movie, but yeah, it was. I thought it was hilarious, but I had a different upbringing.
Right. But I loved all of his other stuff, or their other stuff.
The one I find kind of hard to watch is And Now for Something Completely Different.
Yeah.
And the only reason for that is because, man, I don't know that they needed to refilm those things, those sketches. It's a great list of sketches, but it just doesn't have the same impact when they're refilming them 2 years later or whatever.
Because at that point it is script.
Right.
Some of this was almost improvish, you know.
Yeah, it's like they're intentionally trying to drag them out and make them longer too for some reason, and it just doesn't. I don't know. Doesn't have the same feel.
Right. I agree.
I watched 20 some odd hours of the series way before I watched that.
So, what would you consider the best Monty Python to watch?
That's a toughie. Because I like I said, I will just dive down and get into. I haven't even gotten all the way through yet. I'm rewatching the series now because all this stuff's on Netflix now. If in case you missed it when I mentioned that a couple of months ago when I found out.
That's how I found out.
But I mean, I love just letting that just roll on over me one more time. It's just great. That said, Monty Python and the Holy Grail is, in its own way, a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely the best of the films. And don't get me wrong, I like all of the films a lot, but yeah, I don't know. To have to choose one or the other, it's tough. I'm liable to choose Flying Circus just because there's so much more of it.
Right.
Most people you talk to, that's the one they know of.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's the one that non-Python fans have seen.
Mm-hmm.
That's where people have decided that they either love or don't like Monty Python, right there.
Yeah. Okay. If you had come across someone who says that, would you say, well, why don't you sit down and here's Live at Hollywood Bowl? Do you think that would change their mind?
If someone hadn't heard of Monty Python?
Well, no. Well, they say, well, I don't like Monty Python. I've watched Holy Grail, and I just didn't care for it. I don't get it, that kind of thing. If you offered for them this watch Hollywood Bowl, Live at Hollywood Bowl, would you do that? Because that's almost the best of both worlds. It's a lot of the sketches from the show, but there's changes, and then there's actually with them dealing with some of the stuff that was going on with the audience and all that. So it's a different experience. I love Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I could get behind that idea, as especially as a sampling of some of the stuff, and honestly, it's a better performance than, like I said, and now for something completely different.
Right.
Yeah, I think that would be a great gateway to that. I think that's a good gateway to this TV series for sure.
True.
Like, yeah, if this has any interest to you, then here's a whole lot more of it.
Right.
Sort of idea. I think that would work well.
So I'd probably start singing the Lumberjack song until they change their mind.
Well, there are worse songs in my Monty Python repertoire that you could be singing. So.
I like the 69 song too, but you know.
And that's why Liz isn't allowed in those particular malls anymore. But
Right.
yeah. Oh yes, Sit on My Face. Yes.
That's what
Unfortunately, that's one I could probably sing from memory after not having heard it in a while. But
Yep.
that's not
Wasn't
really
it
from
like
the
on
TV series either.
a CD or something too?
Yeah.
They did like the songs and yeah.
They released a series of albums in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
Which a lot of it was just, I mean, there were some songs, but a lot of it was just sketches, just the audio tracks. But yeah.
Yep.
They did a compilation CD, probably early 90s. I don't remember exactly what the date was. It's called Monty Python Sings. And it's got, count 'em, 25 songs. Including that one, and including the Lumberjack song, of course. 25 songs from the whole spectrum, from the movies, from the series, from the albums.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think I had one. I don't remember the name of it or anything. But I think it had those songs on there. And I think the parrot sketch. The dead parrot.
That's another favorite. Another John Cleese shouting at people sketch, of course. Funny how those are popular.
Well, if we're going to do that, we might as well bring up the argument sketch. Which it was funny. I don't remember who said this to me several years ago. That particular sketch got brought up, and I don't remember how. But someone said it was on the long lines of Abbott and Costello's "Who's on First?" I'm like, well, it's the same principle, but yeah, it's a great sketch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because the whole thing is the argument over if a gentleman had paid to have an argument, and then what actually constitutes an argument.
Right. It turns into a pretty deep debate over something just utterly nonsensical, and it works.
Oh God, it does.
No, it doesn't.
If I'm arguing with you, I'm taking a contrary position. No, you're not. Yes, I am.
But an argument isn't just saying, no, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't.
Is it? Oh, God. See, that's genius writing.
It is.
It's
No, it's not.
And I can't. I mean, I'm not an actor, but I can't imagine having to memorize that. Not only memorize that shit, but then deliver it with a straight face.
yeah.
I can't
That would be
imagine.
the hard part.
Oh, God.
I can't imagine. It's just mind blowing to me. I can't. I mean, that's just, yeah. That's probably part of why I'm not an actor. But
Okay.
I'm not saying it's the only reason.
I didn't say anything. I don't know.
We can let you go.
I was waiting.
We're saving the bus for you, Les.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
Backing on up.
Beep, beep.
Yeah, I heard that sound the other day. I was like, Les?
I'm
Move,
so
Les,
sorry.
move.
Oh, I need to get a sound file of that and start sticking it in the show in random places.
Alexa, find me. Never mind.
They said, this is like totally way off topic. You said Alexa. They were doing a car that it's like supposed to do everything for you. You just tell it what to do and it does it. Well, while this guy's explaining this to everybody, Alexa just randomly goes, "No, that is incorrect. That's not true." And he's like, "Whoa." During his sales speech, no less. She's telling him, "No, I don't do that." Alexa's not that kind of girl.
Wow.
Yeah. Got busted by his own tech.
Nice.
Do you mean like every live Windows presentation they've ever done? But anyway, I digress. Yeah, I saw something briefly in the news just today, because one of the big electronic shows is going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to name
Yeah.
any names here, but yeah, one of the self-driving cars apparently tried to run over another robot.
Oh, no.
It's Judgment Day already.
That'll
Apparently
keep you the
so.
strongest.
Skynet has arrived.
Mm-hmm. A little late.
A little.
I guess depends on what timeline we're talking, but I'm not going to get into that. Anyway.
Hmm. Yeah, that talk about a different show.
Well, we know how much you like time traveling and all that, so we'll stay away from that.
Don't pull any punches on my account.
So, okay, I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna have to. Do you have a favorite sketch? Can you narrow it down to one and go, if that's the only one you can watch, there you go. It has to be that. Can you do it? I don't think I can. I'm pretty sure I can.
I'll have to once again go with Lumberjack, because anytime anybody says Monty Python, that's the first song that starts playing in my head.
Oh.
Oh, a lumberjack and I'm okay. But also there was a line where old lady, like old bitty looking lady, church going lady, she's like, "I object to all this sex on TV because I keep falling off."
Yep.
Which was funny because they were almost canceled because there was too much sex on there. From the first episode, they almost got canceled for it. And I think they did that like on the second episode.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. That's
Kind
totally
of
not
thumb
unusual.
their
They
nose.
Yeah.
did that
We're still
crap
here.
all the time.
What was funny was doing a little reading up on this, and it talked about some of the stuff that was cut out for on air, and it mentions the sketch where the man had the speech impairment where he switches B's and C's.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about him cutting out that last line where he says he's a silly bunt. And I'm like, okay, it's not like he said the word. He just, that was a joke,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But even today, that's like one of them no words.
What, bunt?
Yeah.
Hey, that's my favorite kind of cake. What are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
Call me a bunt, and I'll deck you just the same as if you called me the other word.
See, that's the true test of a Monty Python fan. If you walk up to a woman and call her and say what a silly bunt, and she punches you, you know she's a fan
There you go.
because she knows exactly what you meant.
Yep.
Yeah, the other one that they talk about was the black spot sketch, or it was actually an animation thing.
Right.
And yeah, and so there was one. There's this prince in this happy land, and there's a little black spot on his face, and they're all talking about, and then he dies of cancer.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let them say cancer. So they had one of the other guys, or whoever narrated the thing, wouldn't record the overdub to fix it. So one of the other guys did, and they changed it to gangrene. And it's clearly a different voice. They
Right.
made no effort to hide the fact that it was a different voice.
Right.
So yeah, kind of weird little stuff like that the censors just all of a sudden would put their foot down on.
Of all the stuff that they did, this is Steve, and they're going, okay.
Right, that's the one that crossed the line. The word cancer. Talking about somebody dying of cancer crosses the line.
And someone calling himself a bunt. Okay.
Yeah.
A silly bunt.
What a silly bunt.
Okay. Back to favorite sketch, if you can come up with one.
Oh God, I'm the guy that if you ask me for a top 5, I come up with a list of 15.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Same difference. Same here.
I could give you a list of 15 sketches that are my favorite. I don't
Top
know if
15, go.
I don't know if I can narrow it down more than that.
Amongst my picks are
Such diverse elements as nobody.
Get the comfy chair.
Cardinal Biggles.
Okay, Les, how about you?
Thinking long and hard, it depends on type of humor. You had the Minister of Silly Walks.
Mm-hmm.
You had one of my favorites, the fish slapping sequence.
Yes.
That still sends me into hysterics. Like I said earlier, the race for people with no sense of direction.
Right.
I know they're all silly, but there are different degrees because of how they are approached. One of my favorites was John Cleese teaching men to defend themselves, and once was with a banana.
Right.
Armed with a piece of fresh fruit.
So I can't give you just one. I would love to, but I'm sorry, I'm stuck out here.
I understand.
Sawing off the limb with me sitting about to plummet. Because there are so many ways you can go with this. And each one is hysterical.
Notice they don't so much fly as plummet.
That's right. What was the World Forum with Mousy Tongue, Lennon, and
and the soccer questions.
Football, and it's all FA Cup questions, which they're just looking like, what?
Right, they're all dead at that point, I think. I don't remember when Mousy Tongue died, but he was the youngest of the bunch.
Of course, we got to mention Nudge Nudge.
Parrot Sketch.
Parrot Sketch. Oh. God.
Albatross.
Albatross. Oh, God.
Upper Class Twit of the Year.
Bicycle Repairman.
Oh, yeah, that's an awesome one.
There's just too many good ones. Dennis Moore.
Dennis Moore.
Dum,
Dum,
dum, dum, dum. The fact that we can do it at the same damn time tells you.
It was when the wife and I went to see And Now for Something Completely Different at a midnight showing.
Ooh.
That prior to the movie, here is the crowd sitting there, and somebody decides, let's do Holy Grail. And it was done word for word. Everybody was citing the parts, and it was almost like I would forget what was said next and somebody else would start up again.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife threatened to walk out, but she stuck fast and enjoyed it.
Mm.
And if I may, on a different note, if you watch Holy Grail, one of the funniest scenes is the Bring Out Your Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you watch closely, if you listen, as he's walking through and at the first of it and saying, Bring Out Your Dead, there's a man at the back that has a cat by the tail and is slamming it against the wall. And you hear it.
Rare.
And I sat there and I rewound that so many times, I think the tape decided to bust on me. But I was laughing, and it was just too much fun to notice something like that. To me, it was almost a hidden. So
You're going to hate me for this. There are at least 2 other scenes like that in that movie.
yes, there are.
In various places. There's a couple of I think it's 3, it may be 4, I'm not remembering exactly. But yeah, where somebody is beating out a rug basically with a live cat, or with what sounds like a live cat. I doubt they were actually harming a cat in the process of making the film, but
Right.
yeah, there's at least 3 of those in that movie. Spam, 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 spam.
Crunchy Frog.
Crunchy Frog.
It doesn't have as much spam.
That's true.
I don't like spam.
Just too many good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, any final thoughts before we wrap things up and take a quick break?
Again, they're all on Netflix right now.
Now's the time. It's a good time.
Including several documentaries of varying types and time periods.
Yep.
Which is cool. If you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, I need to check some of those out then.
Yep.
Alrighty. With that, you can always obviously tell that we are fans of them. So, happy anniversary to the guys. Thank you for the laughs, and definitely check this out. If you've not experienced it before, which I'm sure you have, but hey, go back and watch them anyway. You won't regret it.
It was one of their birthdays.
As of our recording, which is January 8th, today would have been Graham Chapman's 78th birthday.
Mm-hmm. If he hadn't kicked the bucket.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and of course, when they did a tribute to him, they did that. They did a dead Graham Chapman sketch, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm sure he would have loved.
Well, and some of those documentaries I mentioned, and in various places, especially the later ones, there are recordings of John Cleese's eulogy at the funeral.
Okay.
Check that out if you ever get a chance.
I need to watch that because I did not know that there was actually a recording of that. I'd heard of it, but I have not heard it or seen it. So yeah, I gotta have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we're going to take a quick break and come back with our weekly picks. And we're back. It's time for our weekly picks, and leading off is Les.
Okay, I'm going to step forward. From IDW comes Dick Tracy, Dead or Alive, number 3. This has been an amusing take on Tracy because they've reimagined him in the 21st century. But they look back at him as if he was back in the 40s. So each one of the characters that they feature is one of his old enemies, and it's just a nice little, I think it's a 5-issue series that they come forward with, and this is by Michael Allred and some of his relatives, plus the illustrator Rich Tommaso. So if you get a chance, pick this one up and dig back and see if you can find 1 and 2, because this is a fun read.
Cool.
Good bit of talent going on there, too. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. Liz.
All right. For my first one, it's from Image. It's a trade. It's called September Morning. September is half Reaper, half human. And she's got like 2 groups of girls. One little girl's blind and can only see dead people. And another one is someone who was dead and brought back to life. And they're called the Trinity. They are trying to help souls that have been imprisoned wrongfully by, I guess, killing someone who should have been taken but wasn't, to replace the innocent that's there. So, interesting story. One thing I'm kind of curious about, last week my pick was, I think it was like Hot Picks about the music industry, and they released something on Spotify. Well, this one, they're going to release new music for it also through Summer Run Records. So, kind of different. I'm wondering if this is going to be something new for Image to put a soundtrack to their books.
Yeah, that's getting to be more of a thing lately.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. Kind of a different dimension to your, But this will collect issues 1 through 4, so pretty good read.
Nice.
Neat.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Mike.
Okie dokie. My first pick is from Action Lab Comics. And I am picking the ongoing Athena Voltaire title. We're up to issue number 10. And this is starting a new arc, and the new arc is called Athena Voltaire and the Terror on the Orient Express, which sounds like fun to me. But then again, I like this title. And we've talked about it a little bit before. It's a really cool example of pulp action and excitement. Think Indiana Jones, and you won't be too far off. Athena's a great character. She's got some interesting folks around her. Usually, she's always got a new. It seems like she's always got a new friend that she's bringing in that she knows, but this is the first time we've met, and it's just a lot of fun. It's really well written, very pretty art. Start of a new arc. Great place to jump on. You know, the usual stuff.
Cool.
It has been a top-notch read.
Yep.
Awesome. Alrighty, so I guess that means I am next. And for my first choice, I'm going with IDW. And to celebrating their 20th anniversary, they're doing a series of one-shots called 2020. It's involving some of their titles. And the first one to come out, I believe this is the first one. If not, there hadn't been too many come out. But features Ghostbusters. And the whole premise is with the 2020 is the storyline takes place either 20 years in the past or 20 years in the future from the current story arcs. And with Ghostbusters, it's 20 years in the future with a new generation of Ghostbusters taking on jobs that the original guys do not want to handle. So I love the premise of the 2020, and it's cool and that IDW is doing that, and congratulations to IDW for 20 years.
Yeah.
So, okay, Les, you're up again.
Back around. Well, from Albatross Funny Books comes Mega Ghost number 2. This is an amusing comic, and in this issue, you have the spoiled rich kid, Fausto Fitzwinkle, who wants something unique for his 13th birthday, and he does get it. He gets a demonic doll named Mephistopheles. Now, to put him back in his place, we have the junior occultist Merton Magus, who is the friend / caretaker of the giant robot Mega Ghost. And they end up trying to save Fausto, and I love Fitzwinkle, and the town of Dunwich Heights. So the first one was amusing. I've got high hopes for this one too.
Well, that just sounds like fun.
Yep.
It does.
Very nice. Liz, you're next.
All right, for my second one, this is another trade from DC. It's a very DC Valentine's Day. This will collect some of their older but goody one-shots that they've done for Valentine's Day, which, of course, each one of those issues had several different stories inside of them. So they're gearing up for Valentine's Day and actually releasing it in time for us to enjoy it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
What a novel idea.
It's like, wow.
I'm wondering if that means they're going to put out, like, several Valentine specials this year or something, or if this is just like the beginning, or...
I see it as the beginning, because they usually do some kind of Valentine's, with Harley, or Wonder Woman's another one they use quite a bit for Valentine's, but these are the older ones, so hopefully it starts it off good. We shall see. So far, they've all been good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good little collection.
Good choice.
Okay. Mike, you're up again.
Alrighty. Well, my second pick is an Image book, and this is the first trade for a title called Farmhand. If you're not familiar with this title, you should really think about it, because the story is centered on the Jenkins family farm. The Jed is the kind of the dad, and he's got the daughter working with him, and he's finally talked the son into coming back and working with him, and the son's brought his family, his wife and his 2 kids, and this is not a normal farm. Straight up, this is not a normal farm. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to get into too much detail, but there's what they're growing is very interesting, and there are a whole lot of implications around it, and a lot of interesting stuff going on in the background, and so it's a very dense story, and it's very cool. It's very enjoyable.
That is a good one.
Nice.
Well, dang it, now I'm going to have to read it.
Dun, dun,
Yes,
dun.
a trade all collected for you.
My job is done here.
Alrighty. I'm up again, and for my second pick, I'm going with a collection as well. This is from Marvel, and this is a collection of the first 12 issues of Classic What If. If you're not familiar with this series, it started up in 1977, and it was a series of just basically done in ones of just different scenarios that took place in the Marvel Universe. The very first issue was what if Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four. There were several other ones. It was where someone else became Spider-Man. What if Conan was walking around in today's times? This one actually collects in this particular issue set is what if Jane Foster wielded the hammer of Thor, which is actually the inspiration of the Jane Foster Thor that we received a few years ago. So this was such a great series. I enjoyed the hell out of this series. So it's nice that this is actually being collected in this kind of format. If it's been done like this before, I have not seen it, but I'm not going to say it hadn't been done. It may have been not in this kind of comprehensive form. Some of the stories may have been in other collections, that kind of thing. But I'm excited about this. I can't wait.
Nice.
Understandable.
Those are good reads.
Okay, and our honorable mention this week is
one from IDW. It'll be a mini-series, 1 of 5. We will find Shredder in hell. He's back, but he's in hell. If the title, spoiler alert, the title didn't give it away. But they say, will his soul be returned when he's faced the horrors of hell? So it should be good. Like I said, short little mini-series. If you've been a fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I'm going to so butcher his name, and so I'll apologize beforehand. I'm sorry. Matthias Santoloco? So sorry. But he's pretty well known for doing the Ninja Turtles. He's coming back to not only write the story, but he's also going to do the artwork. And Kevin Eastman, who normally does the artwork for Turtles, will actually be doing the variant covers on all of these. So good little pairing. Should be a great story. So if you're looking for a little short read, this one should be it.
Cool.
nice.
Very
It's
nice.
better than the Jason and Hill kind of thing, But We'll see.
Not. It's a short read, but not so short that you have to call them nerdles.
Nerdles. Nerdle.
Nerdle. Maybe that's what Ninja Turtle fans should call themselves or something. That would be cool.
Nerdles. There you go.
Nerdles.
We're nerdles. Yeah.
Nerdles.
Well, nerd turtles. There you go. Nerdles.
Yep. There you
And
go.
so now that we've pissed off all the Ninja Turtles fans, I say by
Sorry-
we I mean
sorry,
me
Eddie.
entirely. Sorry, Eddie.
Sorry, Eddie.
I like the turtles.
So you're a nerdle?
I'm a nerdle. Well,
Okay.
kind of.
Oh,
Yeah,
and let the backpedaling begin.
Guys, it's what I read but not regularly pick up, if that. Sometimes I'll catch it when it's a new story arc or something. It's not that I dislike them, but not enough to call myself a nerdle.
Yeah, Mikey, we need to locate that sound file. I guess.
Uh-huh.
Alrighty. Any special announcements or shout-outs this week?
No, I guess just by the time you're listening to this, I hope you guys joined us Saturday.
Yep. By the time this drops, we would have had our first fellowship meetup. It looks like we might have a pretty nice turnout. And if you weren't able, if you've not caught us discussing this before, those of you who are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you're more than welcome to join us. We plan to do a meetup every second Saturday of the month at 7 p.m. and we are going to be at the Galaxy called Dallas Comic Store, and that address is 1238 Beltline Road, and that's suite number 365, and that's in Garland. The zip is 75040. In case you need to do a little MapQuest or Google Map or however to get there. We would love to see you for our February meetup.
That we did meet. Nice meeting you.
Yeah. I was about to say, yeah, exactly that. Those who were here for this one in January, hope you had a good time. I'm pretty sure we did. Well, I mean,
Odds are good.
Odds are good.
We're pretty good at amusing ourselves. Hence 140 some odd episodes of this show.
Right. And we appreciate you coming and obviously supporting our podcast. So we'll definitely have feedback on how that went next week. But I'm excited about this. It should be a blast.
Yep. Should.
And like I said, for those who couldn't make it for the January, who obviously can be able to go to it in February, yes, please do that. And that date will be February 9th. So start planning for that. If you can't make it, you obviously couldn't make it for our January, but it should be fun. Any other mentions or shout-outs or special, hey, we need to say this, or something, whatever?
No.
Okay. Well, let's get to our regular shout-outs, and obviously the first one we get to is Manny the Martyr for supplying the music for our podcast. Hope you enjoy that music. It's pretty. We like it a lot. There will be a link in our show notes, so you can check out their other songs. And there's been some movement on their Facebook page. Hopefully they're maybe working on a new album or something. That would be awesome. I know they've got 2 EPs out right now, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe there's a third. I'm not sure right now. But anyway, go check them out. Go check out their music, and thank you guys for allowing us to use your music. Secondly, the fine people who make up Podern Family on Twitter, we appreciate your support of retweeting our links to our shows. It's very much appreciated. You guys should definitely check them out if you're looking around for another podcast. Easiest way to do that is when you're on Twitter, just do a search, #Podern Family as one word, and just scroll down, and if anything catches your eye, just go ahead and click on that link and download that episode and have fun. And finally, of course, you, dear listener, thank you for your support. We thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. We would love to hear from you. Got a question, comment, suggestion, complaint, observation, whatever? Please contact us. And there's several ways you can do that. Email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net would be the easiest way. Or you can go to the website, and there's you click on the About Us page, and there's a form there you can fill out. You can follow us on Facebook, and you can contact us that way. And actually, that would be a good way to keep up to date with our monthly meetups, because we will be doing Facebook events through there. And our Facebook page is thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, so feel free to follow us and make sure you keep up to date with our meetups. And of course, we post our links to our podcasts and reviews. I need to get back on doing reviews. I got one. I got to do. I got behind on that, and I apologize. You can also follow us on Twitter. That's at Fellowship Geeks. You can follow, if you like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, by all means, please do. Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at Newman_L. And I can be found at TomTC Geek. And wherever you download our shows from, whether it's through iTunes, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, or YouTube, please rate our show. And if you have the additional time, a review would be awesome. All right. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening.
Well, thank you for listening. We do appreciate your support. And until next time, read more comics and support your local stores.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,